artista falleció, no sé. ¿Entiendes? Ya estamos viendo aquí como estamos llenos. Mira como la gente sigue viniendo, sigue llegando la gente que no está a favor de las armas. Y la gran mayoría, para serte sincero, la gran mayoría, el 99.9 son ciudadanos norteamericanos. No son ni balseros, ni cubanitos, ni nada por el estilo. Yo creo que el único balsero que hay aquí probablemente sea yo. A lo mejor hay otro mezclado, pero no lo he visto. Aquí estamos, esperando, dentro de un rato alguien hablará por aquí. Porque hablar en Facebook es muy fácil, lo que hay que dar es salir al frente y venir aquí, participa. Participa en lo que tú crees que está correcto. Mira, aquí tengo a mi hija, mira a mi hija ahí, sentadita en primera plana. Las armas y los asesinatos en las escuelas y la violencia esa que hay en este país. Así es como se cambia. No hablando en Facebook, así es como se cambia. La gente en la calle protestando. Facebook lo único que es para divertirse y burlarse de la gente. Aquí está la gente, mira, la gente, la juventud. El futuro de este país está aquí. Toda la juventud, mira. Mira el futuro de este país, míralos ahí. Míralos ahí, los padres con sus hijos. Ese es el futuro de este país que se cansó ya se cansó, basta ya. Ya se cansó. Miren las caras de todos son muchachos jóvenes, gente joven. Ya se cansó, basta ya. Sus padres, sus abuelos, su familia. Yo con mi niña aquí. Ella todavía no va a la escuela, pero irá mañana. Y basta ya. Basta ya. Sigan ustedes discutiendo en Facebook. El Facebook no los lleva a ningún lado. Aquí donde hay que estar. Aquí. Dando tu paso al frente. Dando tu paso al frente en protesta. Padres con sus hijos, los niños, los abuelos, todo el mundo. Mira, las caras jóvenes que van a votar mañana por toda esa gente que no quieren hacer el cambio. Ya le digo, están perdidos. Si toda esta gente son comunistas, están perdidos esta gente. Porque toda esta gente votan. Esta gente estos no son los falseritos que acabamos de llegar, que no hablamos inglés y todas esas cosas. Esta gente votan, esta gente ya se encabronó. Ya, se encabronaron, basta ya. Ahora ustedes pónganse del lado de la historia que a ustedes más les convenga. Yo estoy de este lado, yo no sé ustedes, este es mi lado. ¿Y sabe por qué es mi lado? Porque mira quién está aquí, mira quién está aquí. Esa es mi hija. Ya le digo, yo no quiero recibir esa llamada devastadora. Si usted la quiere recibir, ese es su problema, yo no. Y todos estos padres que estamos aquí no la queremos recibir. No creo que sea justo, no creo que sea necesario por la ambición de unos pocos que la mayoría paguemos. No creo. ¿Va que usted? Mira cómo está la gente aquí protesta. Muy molesta está la gente. Y eso no es nada, esto es en todo el país, a nivel nacional. En Washington va a ser descomunal. Esto va a ser apoteósico lo que va a suceder el día de hoy en el país. Y creo que en muchos lugares del mundo también, no solamente en Estados Unidos. Pero fíjense las caras, miren las caras. Si tienen tiempo, miren las caras de los que están aquí. Miren las caras. Futuro. El futuro de este país. El futuro que no quiere más. Allá ustedes. ¿De qué lado se quieren poner? Yo estoy de este lado, del lado de la gente buena. Del lado de la gente que quiere ver que sus hijos crecen, que sus hijos se desarrollan, de que a sus hijos no les pasa nada. De que sus hijos pueden vivir en paz. Sé que esto tomará tiempo, esto no es algo de que mañana va a pasar. Tomará tiempo. Pero ya empezó. Por mucho tiempo fuimos una masa callada. Ya empezó. Ya se acabó. Ya se acabó. Ahora, los que tiemblan son ellos, porque el país se rebeló. Y yo me rebelé junto con el país, con mi país, porque este es mi país también. Allá ustedes no sé de qué país serán, pero este es el mío. Y los de este país se cansaron ya. Se cansaron ya de esta locura. Pónganse a trabajar toda esa gente que quieren hacer armas, que dejen de hacer armas y se pongan a buscar otro trabajo. Inventen otro negocio de corromper a los políticos, corromper al gobierno y corromper a todas las masas de este país que nos tienen fajados. Nos tienen fajados mientras nosotros mismos nos estamos matando unos a los otros. Mientras nos matamos, ellos muertos de la risa haciéndose millonarios. Como digo yo, los únicos que se mueren son los hijos de los esclavos. Los hijos del patrón no se mueren. Ahí tenemos uno de los últimos los eventos más recientes, el 14 de febrero. 17 hijos de este país murieron por la ambición de algunos pocos. Y nosotros fajándonos por la ambición de ellos. De verdad que es una locura. Miren las caras de los que están aquí. Miren, gente joven que no quiere más. Gente joven con sus padres que no quiere más. Gente joven que no quiere más, se cansó. Voy a tomar un paneo desde arriba, déjame ver que tengo que estar vigilando a mi hija porque aquí le voy a poner. Le voy a poner una vista desde arriba para que puedan ver cómo estamos los comunistas aquí. Cómo estamos los comunistas. ¿Pueden ver cómo estamos los comunistas aquí? Los comunistas que no queremos más armas allá, que se acaben las armas allá. ¿La ven? Están perdidos, caballeros. Están perdidos los que dicen que es el no comunista. Mira cómo estamos, están rodeados. Están perdidos, caballeros. Están perdidos. ¿Por qué esta masa ahora no va a dejar de votar? Y todo al que se le ocurrió decir sí a las armas, sí el ANAD, sí a toda esa gente, yo creo que poquito a poco los vamos a sacar. Poquito a poco van saliendo. Van saliendo. Ya, se acabó. Este es el principio del fin. Todo tiene un principio y este es el principio. Este es el principio, mira. Mira cómo están las personas mayores, contentas y felices aquí, viniendo a apoyar a sus nietos, a sus hijos. Aquí están todos. Y toda esta gente vota. Y toda esta gente habla inglés. La gran mayoría aquí. La gente está molesta, se acabó, caballero. Se acabó el pan de piquito. Se acabó el pan de piquito. Este es el principio del fin. Allá ustedes, júntense, si no van a perder. Ya están perdiendo hace mucho rato, pero ahora están de cabeza en la derrota. Ahora, ya ustedes saben, mira cómo estamos. Mira, la gente joven, mira la gente joven. Gente joven, que en 1 año, 2 años van a votar, que han sido marcados por esta situación. que han sido marcadas por esta situación y que no lo van a perdonar. Ahí lo pueden ver. Ahí lo pueden ver. La cara del futuro de los Estados Unidos. Molesta. Aquí está. Aquí está. A Mauri, que yo hable mierda no significa nada. Aquí está la gente. Aquí está la gente diciendo todo lo contrario de lo que tú... No sé qué está diciendo porque no te voy a leer, no tengo tiempo para leerte. Creo que el momento no es para leer, el momento es para actuar. Este es el momento de actuar. Mira, mira esta gente cómo está actuando, mira. Mira lo que dice ahí, mira. La gente se cansó. No le hagan caso a los gentes del mal. Mira ahí la gente del bien como están. Mira la gente del bien, míralo como están aquí. Luchando por sus hijos, luchando por su familia, luchando por su país. En primer lugar por su país. No quieren más muertes por gusto, no quieren más muertes de inocentes. No quieren más muertes de inocentes. Y esta gente vota, que no se lo olvide, esta gente vota. Esta gente vota. ¿Y cómo hacemos el cambio? Votando. Uy, porque también no es una cosa, si hacemos esto y no salimos a votar, es como que un trabajo por gusto. Hay que votar. Hay que sacar la pudrición. Como dice nuestro querido presidente, hay que limpiar el pantano. Una frase muy buena que le sirve también. Mira, Chris Scott, no más muertes. Y así, poco a poco, caballero, poco a poco vamos haciendo el cambio. El problema es que ya la gente empezó, ya la gente se cansó. Ya la gente se cansó. Ya la gente se cansó. Póngase usted en el lado que quiera, pero la mayoría se cansó. Y esperen la marcha de Washington. Esperen la marcha de Washington. Que van a ser, se piensa que por lo menos 1 millón de personas va a estar allí, protestando frente al Capitolio y la Casa Blanca. Y ustedes dirán, los que están temblando no somos nosotros, los que están temblando son ellos. Los que tiemblan son ellos, que saben que ya el pueblo se cansó. Ya el pueblo no quiere más. Ya el pueblo dijo, basta ya, se acabó. Mis hijos no queremos que mueran más. Ya empezamos por la Florida cambiando la primera... ¿Sabes? Sí, un descarito fue lo que se hizo, pero ya empezó. Nunca se había cambiado una ley. Ya empezamos aquí en la Florida. Aquí estamos. ¿Cómo está el comunista aquí? ¿Cómo está? Comunista que no quiere las armas. Están perdidos, caballero. Están perdidos esta gente. Somos mayoría. Y eso que esto es un poquitico nada más. Deja que empiecen a salir todas las imágenes de todo el país. El padre con sus hijos. Todos están aquí. Yo también. Yo también. Yo también con mi hija. Aquí está con mi hija. Sí, porque yo no podía dejar de salir en el video, ¿no? Porque después dice que es un video que yo me copié. Creo que dentro de unos minutos va a empezar el acto. ¿Sabes? Va a hacer algunas declaraciones, van a hablar. Los Navi, Yasmani, entonces esta gente también tiene que virar para Cuba. Toda esta gente tiene que virar para Cuba, ¿no? Ya no te dé valor y ven aquí, díselo, ven. Ya que tú eres tan guapo en Facebook, ven, llégate aquí, párate aquí en la tribuna y dígale lo que tú piensas a toda esta gente. Pero yo sé que tú no tienes valor para eso, papá. Ni para decírmelo a mí en persona va a tener valor de pararte aquí. Tú me ves en persona y te va a cagar los pantalones. De eso estoy seguro yo. Me va a tirar a abrazar a decirme, tú tienes un tipo de valor, tú eres un tipo bárbaro. Yo quisiera ser como tú. Pero nada, estás perdido, Pipo. Mira cómo estamos aquí. Mira, aquí está la mayoría. Aquí está la juventud, para la gente nueva. Oye, Esther, mi amor, deja a esta gente. No te preocupes por esta gente, olvídate tú, haz lo tuyo, da tu opinión, di lo que tú piensas y déjalo. No te preocupes, no te fajes con ellos, que no hay solución. Con esta gente no hay solución. Esta gente está enfermo de odio. Mira, ahí está la muchachita, esa seguro que la mandó Raúl. Seguro que la mandó Raúl. Raúl la mandó para acá.
Good morning.
Nah.
I'm so happy to have all of you guys here with me and really supporting a really good cause.
Por favor, si
I
escuchan,
thank
por
every
favor.
single one of you guys here. So good morning. My name is Janet Hernandez. I am a current 16-year-old high school sophomore and your host and organizer for the Sister March in unison with March for All. First off, I'd like to thank every single one of you that I see right now. This event started as something I thought would just be a couple of concerned students and teachers and ended up developing into something that is a wave of support not only from parents, grandparents, but also elected officials who were willing to stand up and support me in this fight to end gun violence and protect our students. You all have taken the time out of your lives to come out and stand with not just myself, but hundreds of other students from all over the U.S., just like me, who have put together this march with maximum effort. These numbers were truly unprecedented in my mind, and I am overwhelmed by the support of the community for the students trying to make a statement for the government to listen. Primarily, I would like to extend a personal thank you to Commissioner Daniela Levine Cava and Lina Carmona Sanchez, who with me have jumped through the hurdles and trials of being able to put this event together for you all in such short notice. Thank you, Commissioner. It is people like you who are willing to listen to the will of the people and all of the voices, no matter how small, that truly make a difference and should be in office. Another thank you to all of the other public officials who made an appearance today. A special thank you to Nick Duran and Robert Asensio. It is your support that has made this possible, and I am grateful for all of your help. Hundreds of students, just like me, have taken the time and energy to organize a sister rally. We are scared, we are angry, and we will make sure that our voices are heard. Many will say that I am too young to make an impact. I refuse to believe that my voice is only valid when I can cast a ballot. In 2 years, when I am 18, it will be too late. How many more incidents like Parkland have to happen for my voice to finally count? I am the future. We, the students, are the future. And we count. Last month, 17 were shot and killed, with more than a dozen others who were injured at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. We were all deeply affected by this tragedy. Only in America is the phrase, "yet another mass shooting," part of our vocabulary. More than 96 Americans are killed and hundreds of others are wounded every single day. I am a student, and I should be able to go to school to learn, not to run and hide from gunfire. We don't have to live like this. Many of you are here because you see yourself or someone close to you as a representation of the students at Parkland who have lost their lives. Grandparents and parents who are afraid for what the future holds. Teachers who fear for your students and yourself. Someone's right to own a gun should not trump my right to be alive. Someone's right to own a gun should not trump our right to feel safe in our schools. Someone's right to own a gun does not trump the 17 kids killed at Parkland. Someone's right to own a gun does not bring back the 20 first graders killed at Sandy Hook. I should not be able to name all of these tragedies that have happened in my lifetime and less than 10 years apart. Something needs to be done now. No one is asking to take away your weapons. Regulation is what is needed. On March 24th, today, we stand by our nation's youth. We rally in communities, both big and small, in all 50 states. As a part of March for Our Lives, we will send a message that is loud and clear. It is long past time our lawmakers make students' lives and safety a priority. And that we pass common sense gun safety legislation. We'll march with members of our communities and survivors of every form of gun violence, because there is no such thing as too soon to talk about gun violence. There is only a too late. Thoughts and prayers are not enough. We must demand action to end gun violence. We must rally to make sure that our schools are secure. We will rally to send a strong message to our nation's leaders in Washington, in state houses, and in corporate boardrooms all across the country that we will not stand idly by when our safety and the safety of our families and our students are put at risk. Our lives are worth more than the profits of gun manufacturers. Our nation's gun homicide rate is 25 times higher than the average of other developed nations, even when adjusted for population. This is a uniquely American crisis. What's more, gun violence overall has a disproportionate impact on communities of color. We must work together to reduce gun violence in all of its forms, in all of our communities. This should be a moment of reckoning. For years, the gun lobby and elected officials it backs have pushed a guns everywhere agenda. We routinely see what that's gotten us. A devastating pattern of countless Americans shot and killed. I am proud of Florida and the progress that we have made. It is momentous in considering that we were once one of the least regulated states. Progress is being made. But it is a long road that requires compromise and common ground to reach the feelings of being safe once again. It is time to march for our lives. It is time to change our country's conversation about gun violence. Together, we will make history and make sure that this happens never again. Never again. Never again. Thank you so much. I will now hand my mic over to a fellow student, Joy Marie, who will be speaking with you all.
Hi everyone, my name is Joy Marie. If you can't tell, I'm really nervous right now. But you may have seen me on the news recently. My school, my friend Talia Perez and I, we planned a 17-mile walk from our school in Davie all the way to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. 17 miles from 17 miles walk. But also, if I read this paper a lot, I'm so sorry. I really don't want to cry right now because these words need to be said. I wrote this speech to be said after the walk, but I could not read it, so here goes nothing. I was 11 years old when Sandy Hook happened. I came home from school to my mother crying, thinking of how in a parallel universe, it could have been her planning a funeral for her elementary school, rather than focusing on reading lists for Santa, or thinking about the huge mess she'd have to clean up after Christmas dinner. I was 11 years old when I watched news stories about the first responders that arrived on the scene. The men and women who entered the chaos and cradled the bodies of bloody 5-year-olds, and yet no one was discussing the issue at hand. At 11 years old, I wondered if the murder of 20 elementary schoolers and 6 of their teachers would be enough to get everyone talking. But I continued to watch more and more interviews, the ones where victims were blamed and little kids were accused of being crisis actors. And I watched as so many accusations were thrown about the guns or the mental health or the violent video games that everyone forgot to actually do something about it. So the years passed, and I watched as more were left with red bubbling at their lips. People at nightclubs, people at concerts, people like you and me, people like Donald Trump and Marco Rubio, people. And I listened to the puppeteer politicians saying now isn't a good time to talk about it, because in their eyes it never would be. And then exactly a month ago, well, I wrote this at that point. A month ago, I was 2 days away from being 17 years old when Douglas happened. The phone rang and I heard my mother crying, thinking of how in a parallel universe, it could have been her planning a funeral for her teenage daughter, rather than focusing on planning something for her birthday less than a week later. A reality faced by the family of Carmen Schentrup. I was 2 days away from being 17 years old when I watched news stories about the first responders that arrived on the scene. But this time I also watched news stories straight from the mouths of the true first responders, the students and teachers cradling the bodies of bloody teenagers. The students and teachers remembering the hallways of carnage and wondering why 14 teenagers and 3 educators had to be murdered to get us talking. The voices ring of those who lost classmates, those who wish to one day see the blood of their peers part like the Red Sea as they walk through it, never to be spilled again because of the change they incited. And still, the puppeteer politicians reiterate the necessity for grief and continue to say it's too soon. I don't know if they're waiting for the lovers to stop crying, the parents to stop screaming, the friends to stop yearning, or the people to stop pushing, but it will never stop. And to those that think it will, I say this. Dana Loesch, I want you to imagine a teenage boy. I want you to imagine that teenage boy being the most selfless one could ever be. I want you to imagine him holding a door open so his fellow classmates could escape a scene no one should ever have to. And I want you to imagine him being shot. I want you to imagine him falling lifeless to the ground, being trampled by hordes of screaming children. And instead of seeing Peter Wang, I want you to see your sons. Marco Rubio, I want you to imagine a teenage girl, terrified beyond comprehension. I want you to see her stuck on the 3rd floor of a war zone, outside a classroom with nowhere to turn. I want you to imagine her being shot 9 times in the back. And instead of seeing Meadow Pollock, I want you to see your daughter Amanda. Tommy Lahren, I want you to imagine a father. I want you to imagine that father being one of the most honorable, caring people in the face of chaos. I want you to imagine that father pushing a teenage girl out of the way and absorbing the bullets meant for her. Now I want you to see his daughter and how she's going to grow up unable to remember the memories you adamantly insist people should be grieving over rather than advocating for change. How she's going to grow up without a father, and instead of seeing Aaron Feist or his baby daughter, I want you to see your own father. And imagine what it would be like if you grew up remembering only the news reports about how he died a hero. Donald Trump. I want you to imagine... Donald Trump. I want you to imagine looking through the broken glass of a classroom in the freshman building of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. And I want you to imagine looking at the broken children inside of it. I want you to watch as a teenage girl tries to help everyone by advising they shield their faces with books. I want you to watch as she is shot dead right next to her best friend. I want you to watch as a beautiful boy who signed the next 4 years of his life away to the University of Indianapolis a week before Valentine's Day is gunned down right next to her after making Valentine's Day cards for the girlfriend he was looking forward to sharing forever with. I want you to watch as the empty shell of what was once an Olympic hopeful was used to shield other students' bodies from bullets as a human shield. And instead of seeing Helena Ramsey, I want you to see your daughters Ivanka and Tiffany. And instead of seeing my friend Nicholas Dworet, I want you to see your sons Donald Jr., Eric, or even Barron. And to anyone that thinks that what happened was a result of the person behind the gun rather than the weapon of war that was illegal to own or manufacture until 2004, I want you to see your husbands, your wives, your boyfriends and girlfriends, your classmates and teachers, your aunts and uncles, grandparents and cousins, your mothers, your fathers, your sons, your daughters, and your friends and family. And I want you to look me in the eye and tell me why you still get to tell them you love them every day, while the families of Alyssa Al-Hadef, Scott Beagle, Martin Duque, Jamie Guttenberg, Chris Hickson, Luke Hoyer, Carol Loughran, Gina Montalto, Joaquin Oliver, Elena Petty, and Alex Schachter never will again. Are they any less important? That was stripped away from them because your agenda enabled it to be. I should not be standing here today. I shouldn't be up here reminding the friends and family of Alyssa Al-Hadef, Scott Beagle, Martin Duque, Nicholas Dworet, Aaron Feist, Jamie Guttenberg, Chris Hickson, Luke Hoyer, Carol Loughran, Gina Montalto, Joaquin Oliver, Elena Petty, Meadow Pollock, Helena Ramsey, Alex Schachter, Carmen Schentrup, and Peter Wang of everything they lost a month ago. I shouldn't be up here reminding the friends and family of injured Maddie Wilford, Anthony Borges, Ashley Baez, Benjamin Wickender, Daniela Manesco, Kyle Lamon, Isabel Shakur, Samantha Mayer, Samantha Grady, Stacy Lapel, Samantha Fuentes, Alexander Dworet, brother of shot Nicholas Dworet, Justin Colton, Marian Kabachenko, Kasheva Magnapuram, William Olson, Genesis Valentine, and everyone else wounded both physically and mentally of everything that could have been lost a month ago. I should not be standing here today. I should not have had to walk 17 miles to honor the lives of 14 children my age and the 3 adults that died protecting them. Right now, the majority of the kids affected by Sandy Hook are the same age I was when I first realized how crumbled our democracy truly is. They were too young to advocate for themselves, and they still are now, but we are not, and we will not stop until we avenge everybody that has been affected by something so preventable. I was 11 years old when Sandy Hook happened. I was 2 days away from being 17 when Stoneman Douglas did. It's been 6 years and absolutely nothing has changed. How many more people need to die before this is over? 6 years ago, I watched news reports about a dead senior, about a dead kindergartner. 1 month ago, I watched news reports about a dead senior. And in the near future, I hope to watch news reports about change actually happening. Because whether it's today, tomorrow, or in whatever year my generation can run for office and vote, change will happen. Because the majority of us are tired of seeing friends, families, and futures die. So watch out, Dana Loesch, Marco Rubio, Tommy Lahren, and Donald Trump, because one day we will be in your position, and we call BS. Thank you.
There's no following that. There is no following that. Incredible. I'm 62 years old, but I feel like I'm in high school again. 62 does rock. But you know, we were young once, those of us who are in my generation. And we were hopeful. And then they beat us down. They told us. You know, I went inside, but when the people lead, the leaders follow. Yeah, and these young people are leading the way. They are leading the way. They are putting us to shame. I'm Daniela Levine Calvin, County Commissioner, District 8. Thank God for Janet. Thank God for Joy. Thank God for these young people. They did this on their own. They did not need us to bring us all together today. But you know what? They still give us airtime. They still believe we can help. That fills me with hope. Thank you very much. Well, we were all fixed February 14th. It was the day of love. It was Valentine's Day. The last thing from our minds was that the unthinkable would happen. The death, the mayhem, students crouching, trying desperately to save each other, haunted forever. They are haunted forever. Hidden in closets, desperately sending messages out to loved ones. We were all with them. We were all with them in those terribly scary, terrifying moments that should never have been. And then they took their grief and they turned it into action. Incredible. They took that grief and they turned it into action within 24 hours. They lifted a national horror into national hope. So all of us, grieving, desperately, despondent, had to wake up and see that young people were turning horror into hope. And we had to join forces, hold hands together. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes. That's what our young people did for us. phoenix rising from the mythical ashes right in our lifetimes. These young people rose up. They lifted their families, they lifted each other, they lifted the community, they lifted the nation, they lifted the world. You know, powerful people are in charge of our country. And they said, enough is enough.